BBC T Sport. Voice of the Boro, a tribute to Ali Brownlee.
Having it over against the goalkeeper. Come on, Alvin. It's Shigley watch the lad. It's Shigley watch the lad. It's in. Goal! Bamford scores!
And a first time shot from Nick Angus gets stuck in the mud. Callum O'Hanlon trying to stop it, but the ball is rolling. The ball is rolling to the net. There's punches in the air.
It's going to be Boksic. Oh, goal! Lala Boksic! The supreme scoring machine from Croatia.
Macaroni's header! And Boro have struck a stick to the heart of Dracula's boys, and it could be Eindhoven time!
And Middlesbrough got promoted. I don't believe it. Middlesbrough are promoted. Gordon Cox alongside me is in tears. I feel as if I could be in tears. The team have dashed for the dressing room. Gary Hamilton.
History's been made at the Millennium Stadium. 128 years in the making. 128 years of hurt, but we never stopped believing that we would win a cup, and we have. Bolton 1, Boro 2.
Boro through, Manchester United are out, and Louis van Gaal, bye-bye to you.
And there'll be many great Middlesbrough captains. George Hardwick, Stuart Baum, Gordon Jones, Tony Mowbray. But none of them have been able to do what Gareth Southgate is going to do now. That's put his hands round a cup and convert after the words Middlesbrough Football Club and add an extra word. And the word is winners! We've done it!
How did a Boro-mad bank manager become the voice of his favourite football team for generations of fans? Remember this date, Saturday the 28th of August 1982. Sheffield Wednesday 3, Middlesbrough 1 at Hillsborough. Forget the scoreline, it's not important. But first we have to go back to the late 60s, when a boy born in Byland Street was taken to Ayresome Park by his dad and granddad, and a love affair was born. Ali was an Ayresome angel, devoting all of his spare time to his newfound love, rushing home from Winniebank School to make it to midweek matches and cheer on his heroes. And what a choice for his first hero, John Hicton, legendary Boro striker and the man for whom taking a penalty was an art form.
Can you describe, for one final time for me, your penalty technique? Did you really run from Albert Park and get into the East End and run down the pitch and give the ball a kick?
I think you got stretched in time. The idea was I always used to start outside the penalty area, give the goalkeeper time to think, you know, this big strong lad's coming here to blast this ball past me, and I tried to intimidate him a little bit, pick my spot and just hit it into that corner.
Ali talking to John Hicton about that penalty technique on one of the many occasions he got to meet his heroes. His love of all things red and white developed over the years and led to involvement with the Junior Reds, encouraging youngsters to love the Boro instead of Manchester United or Liverpool. That caught the eye of John Allard, the then sports editor at BBC Radio Cleveland. You could say the rest is history. From that day on, Ali's voice and the Boro were linked by the airwaves of Teesside. And they were pretty experimental days, as John Allard recalls.
We'd like to be quite bold in what we did, if I remember rightly, on BBC Radio Cleveland, as it was then in the old days. We used to send you, didn't we, to the Yellow Rose and do a live broadcast from there, which was always risky, live in a pub before the game, and then we'd actually have you live on the way down to the ground. So I always think we were quite innovative, even in those early days.
And I've got to say thank you to you for giving me an opportunity to cover the Boro, John.
Well, no one was mad enough in those days because it wasn't always entertaining, was it? I remember you having to go to places like Newport County, and because they did play Newport County, remember, didn't they? I think Tony Mowbray scored a winning header in the final moments in the days of Bruce Rioch. So no one's mad enough to go all the way around the country for peanuts, basically.
Ali combined his role at BBC Radio Cleveland with his work as a bank manager for many years, nearly always with Gordon Cox by his side.
Let's take it back to the 7:29 from Darlington to King's Cross Station. I was sitting there quietly trying to read the Sporting Life, seeing what the horses were doing that day. We were on the train on the way down to the Chelsea versus Boro game. I knew Ali. We went to the same college together. We were at the supporters club together, so we knew each other. Our paths had crossed now and again. We knew each other to talk to. With these good friends with Lenny and Nigel. All of a sudden, the three of them just bulled up in this train carriage, loud and brash. And as is always said with Ali, you can hear him coming. I think it was 3 carriages away, and I thought I recognised that voice. And from that day on, as he said, the rest is history. We sat down at the same table. We caught up with our lives. He'd already started the Junior Reds at that stage. And I said, look, anytime you need help with that one, he said, well, we're going to meet in on Wednesday. Come down. I did. We went to Hinderwell, we went to Yarm, we went to Stockton, Redcar, Middlesbrough, and it was an idea that brought the community together, the youngsters of the community together, that they could play football. We wanted people to have fun, but also to meet some of the Boro players, and it was a link between, and you know, we were very keen that the youngsters of the community would play a part in that. John Allard, sports producer at the time, obviously had been working with Ali for probably about 3 or so years at that stage. He came down to interview me, because at that stage then I had gone round all the 92 football clubs, and he thought that was something of interest. We got talking, and Ali and I used to listen to the likes of Brian Butler and Peter Jones and commentators in the past. When we were growing up, didn't know each other at that stage, but our paths merged, and he just went on from there. Picked things up commentary-wise, was maybe a couple of seasons or so after that. And if you look at Peter Jones and Brian Butler, we always said, you know, they were the epitome of professionalism, of consistency, of impartiality. We were pretty much the opposite of all that.
One of the undoubted highlights of those early years was promotion to the First Division at Chelsea in 1988. In true Boro tradition, however, John Allard recalls things didn't run smoothly.
That was a memorable broadcasting moment, I have to say, Alistair, and hats off to you and Coxie. I mean, you and Gordon Cox are a pair still, as far as I'm concerned. I won't say a pair of what, but a pair anyway. It was almost like we signed you and Coxie came free. It was like buy one get one free, but he's been invaluable to Radio Cleveland. And yeah, that was a memorable day, and I have that match on tape and all the preamble and the aftermath, which was certainly memorable, and listening to it now, it even makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. It was such a dramatic occasion. But you nearly got us sued, Alistair. Remember, there was a pitch invasion and you said, I don't care if you sue me. You were Commissioner of Police, if you're listening, the Metropolitan Police, I don't care if you sue me. And I was screaming in your headphones, I care if he sues me, so will you shut up? But of course you didn't.
And Chelsea now take this throw. The referee has looked once more at that watch. There's a long ball in the area. Gary Pallister gets it clear. Pallister to Bernie Slaven. Slaven can take it away and can end everything here. And he has. And Middlesbrough got promoted. I don't believe it. Middlesbrough are promoted. Gordon Cox alongside me is in tears. I feel as if I could be in tears. The team have dashed for the dressing room. Gary Hamilton is being given a piggyback by Colin Cooper to the dressing room. The Middlesbrough fans are ecstatic. There are tears down my face. There are tears down Gordon Cox's face. And Middlesbrough got promotion into the First Division.
Ali's first regular partner in the commentary box at Ayresome Park was Harold Shepherdson, another of his heroes. Harold was trainer of the England side that won the World Cup in 1966 and also had a long association with the Boro as player, coach and caretaker manager. The double act lasted until the mid-90s when Harold decided to enjoy watching games from the director's box. So Ali needed a new wingman.
I'm Gary Gill. I commentated with Alistair on BBC Radio Cleveland as it was then, and BBC Tees as it is now. At the time I was working at the football club in football in the community, which is, as it says, working in the community with using football as a vehicle, you know, with coaching and football clinics and stuff, and generally just doing a PR job for the football club around the local area. And I just finished at Cardiff City. That was my last club, and Ali, irrepressible as ever, came up and seen me one day when I was in the office at the old gym at Ayresome Park and said, do you fancy doing some summarising for us? And I said, well, I will if you tell us what it is, yeah. Because, I mean, at the time, and it sounds really bizarre now, because core commentary, summarisers, expert analysis, it just wasn't there then. And he said, well, basically, in a nutshell, it's something, I do the commentary on the game, something happens, and you tell us what you think, you know, why it happened, you know, was it good, wasn't it good, and just comment on moments in the match. So I said, yes, I'll do that. And the reason he asked me was because it was an FA Cup match, and Middlesbrough were playing Cardiff City, and obviously I was always aware of our team, but because I'd finished at Cardiff, I was probably more aware of Cardiff than I was of Middlesbrough at the time, so I knew all those players really well. So we did the gig, and it just went really well. You know, Nathan Blake was playing, and he scored the winner, as I more or less alluded to, might happen, you know, because he was such a talent and stuff like that. And from there, it just developed into us working together more regularly, covering a lot more games.
On April the 30th, 1995, the place where Ali had watched his beloved team from the terraces and the commentary box staged its final competitive game. And who else to describe the final victory at Ayresome Park?
Nigel Pearson can't turn. John Henry can inside the area. Shot deflects and it's in! And Middlesbrough score and Ayresome Park goes absolutely wild.
It's a free header and it's an equaliser for Luton Town. And the ball's getting the back of the net from John Taylor. The free
Pollock in the left wing position tries to charge inside the area. Referee allows play to continue. Derek White to Henry. Henry scored! And he kisses his chest and he kisses his badge, and it's a goal created by Derek White. It's a goal finished by John Henry, and the door to the Premiership, as we say, swings open yet again.
And promotion to the Premier League under the leadership of Brian Robson brought about a new phase in Ali's career.
We were just two lads who never took ourselves seriously. There's no need to. Nobody else did. Why should we? But we enjoyed. We did it professionally. I mean, we have a little bit of a laugh about that, but we did it to the best of our ability, of course. But we were, well, how cliche goes of living the dream. Well, yes, it was. You know, you were watching the Boro, you were working on the radio. How much better could this be? And our paths stayed together for a long, long time, and they would move from one radio station to another in time. When Century came knocking, that it was Alistair's voice they wanted. Fine, I understood that. I think he was more upset than I was. He said, "Look, this is difficult. It's me that want the breaking up this partnership, which had, for one reason or another, had got this status across the area, which we always found very humbling and very amusing. But he did. He broke up that partnership."
My name's John Simons. I was the programme director at Century Radio in the 90s when we first hired Ali, and it was the first time that commercial radio had been allowed to do exclusive deals with football clubs, and we threw ourselves into that, and we got the exclusive commentary rights from Middlesbrough Football Club. Up until then it had been covered by TFM and Radio Cleveland, as it was called, and we found ourselves with these exclusive commentary rights, and we had no commentary team. So the first thing I did was listen to the TFM guys, and then I listened to the Radio Cleveland guys, and I thought, well, the guy I really need here is Alistair. Because he is, and he was then, the voice of the borough. But because we were going into it from a commercial perspective, I wanted to try and get the audience from the commercial side and the BBC. So I teamed him up with the guy from the commercial side as well. We had two commentators, which was quite unusual. So that was Alistair and Dave Roberts. And then we went to find a pundit to work with them. And Big Malcolm Allison, was still around in those days. And we put the three of them together, which was a dynamite proposition, especially on the fact that Big Mal kept swearing. And I ended up firing him twice because he kept using rather exaggerated expletives. And Alistair did his best to keep him on track, but it was to no avail, unfortunately.
After Big Mal came a partnership that will go down in borough folklore.
Hi, I'm Bernie Slaven, worked alongside Ali for a number of years. My very first game with Alistair, Malcolm Allison had been sacked off the radio for swearing, and that's something outrageous. Anyway, he gets sacked, and rightly so. Anyway, my first game with Alistair was along with Dave Roberts, and the first game was away at Arsenal. And it was New Year's Day, I think the game was, so we travelled New Year's Eve, freezing cold, and that was my very first commentary with Alistair. And that first year, obviously I was new to the radio or the commentary, and Ali nursed me along greatly, helped me greatly, encouraged me, and whenever I stuttered, which you do when you you first take on a new job, he would dig me out the hole and sort me out. So that was the very first game, and obviously there was many more games to come. We ended up clocking 500 games, all the biggest games. It was at the pump, not just for us, for the club, because there was 3 Wembley finals, there was a Carling Cup final, that elusive trophy after 128 years, and now obviously the UEFA Cup final in Eindhoven. So big memories there.
To me, that was the halcyon days of Middlesbrough commentary. It was the days of Juninho and Emerson and Ravanelli and all the big names that Brian Robson brought to the club. So there was a lot of brouhaha around the club and a lot of showbiz, and they really thrived on that as well. And we did some fantastic commentaries, and in everyone's memories that combination of Ali with Bernie will never be bettered.
They commentated on over 500 games together, including the League Cup win and 2 European campaigns. But it's often for another reason that their time together is best remembered.
Ali got me on many occasions, and that one was, we did the game at the Riverside, we went into the phone-in, and Ali turned around and says, next week we got to Old Trafford, Bernard, he used to call me Bernard when he was serious, how far would you go if we go and beat them? And I says, well, when was the last time we beat Man United at Old Trafford? 6 to 8 years ago. And I'm saying 6 to 8 years ago. I said, I'll tell you what, there's a saying in Teesside, if we go there, beat them, I will show my backside in Ben's window. Cut the story, Ali goes to see the manager, arranges it, he's telling the manager, it'll be a great scoop for you, it's Christmas time, the papers are looking for a story, it's great PR for your store. So if I was you, I would take it on board, and the guy's going, well, what's the chances of it happening? Well, it's not likely to happen, but if it does, it's good for your store. Go to Old Trafford, we're 2-1 up, the Boro fans are saying, Bernie shows your arse. 3-1 up, I'm sweating, 3-2. Andy Cole, I remember him going through late in the game, 1 against 1 with Schwarzer, and I'll be honest, inside I was thinking, go on, score it, get me off the hook, Andy. A draw's still a good point, and he missed it. Typical ex-Geordie Newcastle striker. Fans were singing, Ali was joyous as ever.
Dean Gordon now. Gordon puts it inside the area. Good looking ball for Brian Dean. Dean plays it back. He's the man, and Hamilton Rickard scored. Hamilton Rickard has scored his 13th goal of the season. Schmeichel is down inside the area. It's Manchester United 0. It's Middlesbrough 1. Hail Ham the man. Andy Townsend floats it towards Brian Dean. Dean just beaten to it, drops for Dean. Gordon who hits it back of the net. It's Flash Gordon. It's 2-0 to the Boro, and Dean Gordon's stunning strike from the edge of the area takes Schmeichel by surprise, and it's Manchester United 0. It's Middlesbrough 2, and Bernie's bum could be out.
I tell you, what a glorious strike.
Rickard, midway inside the United half as Brian Dean in support. Plays it to Brian Dean. Dean's inside the area. Dean's shot. Oh, it's the back of the net, and Brian Dean makes it 3-0. Get in! It's 3-0 against Manchester United, and Brian Dean's 4th goal of the season could have ended this as a contest, could have given Middlesbrough their first victory here in the league since 1930.
Listen, the Boro fans are singing, Bernie shows you bum. Go on, stand up and give them a little bit of a whip. Bernie Slaven standing up in the air. The Boro fans are asking Bernie to reveal his bottom towards them, and I think they're all looking at you.
And then on Monday morning we turns up at the bins. I'm thinking there's going to be a few photographers there. Me and Ali got up at the top of the building where the office is. The manager invites us in. Within half an hour the room was packed. The Mail, the Sunday something, whatever, every paper, TNT, Sky Sports, everybody, probably the BBC, everybody was in that room, and I'm thinking, dear God, I had a sweat on, I had my kilt on, I had 3-2 painted on my cheeks, all down to Ali. This was Ali that started this and created this monster. And then when I go down into Bin's department store, down in the lift, there's the cosmetics store, I'm sure you've been there, the cosmetics store, there was about 10 deep. There was grannies, there was kids, and it was like a boxer going in the ring, only I was going into the window. And I head on into the window, and grannies are pulling up my kilt and squeezing my cheeks or whatever. Gets into the window, and the blinds were down. And as they opened, I was thinking, everybody's in here. There was about 3,000 of them. Well, Ali was in raptures, stitches, and that was one of the biggest wind-ups Ali got me.
Another man who would go on to commentate alongside Ali first came across him as a Boro player.
Fleming releases Craig Hignett in front of the new hole. Get in! Hignett! And if his career at the Riverside Stadium ends,
It's in fantastic fashion, and he does Ravanelli. He pulls the shirt over his head. He goes to the fans. What a finish! What a smile! Well deserved. 3-0. Hail Hignett.
Kaz are going on a little darting run. Merson tries to play it on. Hignett's in once more. Hignett, oh!
Pick that one out of the top of the net. That is top draw. And the doors to the Premier League have not just swung open, they've been smashed apart. 2 goals for Armstrong, now 2 for Hignett, and the smile tells it all.
I'm Craig Hignett, and I worked alongside Ali for BBC Tees. 92, I arrived, and I didn't know anyone at the club, but from the first game, I think Ali stuck out like a sore thumb, because you think, who's this fella who's shouting all over the place here, and you couldn't help but warm to him. He was loud, he was larger than life, but he was such a lovely, generous man. And it didn't take me long to know what type of man he was. We had a great relationship right from the off, really. You would want to do stuff for him, and that was unusual. Players and reporters normally don't have a great relationship, but Ali was different because he was so genuine, because he genuinely loved the club, the football club, and was so positive about it. You never felt any problem talking to him about anything. And sometimes you could say things that were a little bit controversial, but Ali wouldn't run with them. He'd just be ultra positive about everything that you'd done, and I think players appreciate that. You don't get too many of them.
My name's Gary Phillipson. I met Alistair in 1994 when Century started. My first ever meeting with Alistair was at the Century Christmas party, because the Century had launched in the September. He was at the Christmas party with Dave Roberts and Malcolm Allison, Big Mal, and they'd just come back from a game at Nottingham Forest. And everybody knew of Alistair, and he'd come into the room, larger-than-life character. He would light the room up wherever. But him and Big Mal, and they come in carrying 2 great big magnums of Bolly. And I said, how have you afforded that? He went, oh, it doesn't matter, the boss has paid for it, it's on his bill. And that was the first time I met Alistair. The season after I started doing the pitch side stuff at the Riverside with Al, I'd never done anything like it before. And I said, what should I do? He went, just be you. He said, just be you. You love the Borough. Just say what you see, and don't make anything up. Just say what you see. And I think Alistair was like that as well as a commentator. He said it as he was. He said it with the passion of a fan, and an amazing man who, whenever you met him, he just enthused you. He was like a nuclear power station of happiness. And just to have that freedom of just to let him open your mic and let you go. He let me do all sorts of things. We had a little feature called Tommy the Touchline Bongos. Whilst during the game, the bongos would explain what the match was doing via the tone. And Robbo on the touchline was absolutely like, what are you doing? But Ali loved anything like that, a little bit avant-garde, a little bit off the hoof. He'd let you go with it, and it was the feature didn't last long when the gaffer heard it. But we loved it for 2 or 3 games. Tommy the Touchline Bongos, they should bring it back.
Alongside his radio work, Ali was also the face of Boro TV, a cable channel that, like him, lived and breathed all things red and white.
I'm Adam Nolan, and I was head of production at Boro TV. Well, Ali was perfect for Boro TV. And it came about in a bit of a strange way. For many years, I've known Ali since like the beginning, early 90s, when I was working at Radio Cleveland. And then around about 96, 97, when the Janino era started, Ali and I used to discuss, usually over a few pints in the Yellow Rose, wouldn't it be good if the football club had its own TV channel? And then, sure enough, a couple of years later, Comcast, as it was then, decided that they wanted to try this out. They wanted to make a channel about Middlesbrough Football Club and call it Boro TV. And obviously the first thing that they did was get Alistair on board. So Ali and Bernie Slaven presented for a couple of years. And I think even Ali would admit that in those first 2 years they didn't have many resources. It was basically Ali and Bernie sat on a sofa. But they made the most of it, and they built the channel up. And then Ali came to me around about 2000 and said, look, we wanted to move this on a bit. The guy that was in charge, a chap called Peter Wilcock, was very supportive of the channel, and he said we wanted to move it on. So I was asked to join and became head of production for 5 years. And what we did was we took the channel, which up until that point had basically been just one programme a week. And then we introduced a phone-in programme. We had the main magazine programme that went on a Thursday night. We then had access to the matches, so we could analyse the games, and it was just perfect for Alistair because his knowledge of the football club and his knowledge of what fans would be interested in was second to none. There was no one else that would be able to do that and pull it off.
There was one funny story. We were doing Boro TV. This is the professionalism kicking in. Unprofessional in Boro TV's part of the time. There was no time delay. So obviously, you know, radio 7-second delay, whatever. There was no time delay. We're doing the Boro TV. It's a Monday night. We're live. Ali says, let's go to the first Boro fan. So the first couple of Boro fans, yeah. Third fan in, it's a Sunderland fan. So Ali goes, Sunderland, have you got lost, big man? What's happening? What are you doing on here? Well, I live in Billingham, I enjoy the show. I'm a Sunderland fan. And he sounded like pretty quirky and that. Could take a joke. So I turned around and I went, are you aware who scored Boro's quickest ever derby goal against your lot? And he went, no. And I went, it was me, 17 seconds. And he went, yeah, Scottish. And Ali went, we will swiftly move on. Well, I was under the table in raptures. I couldn't stop laughing, but Ali was straight face. We will swiftly move on and went on to the next caller. Very professional. I'd have been in stitches. I couldn't have controlled myself. Whether it was Ali or not, I'd have been under the table.
Remembering Ali Brownlee on BBC Tees.
He would bellow and scream of a promotion dream, and he cried when they lifted the cup. He was more than a fan, Mr. Middlesbrough man. Now from heaven he'll drag our team up. So be easy and free when you think of Ali. He's a man you won't meet every day. Yes, be easy and free. God bless Ali Brownlee. He was a man you won't meet every day.
One of Ali's proudest moments as a Boro fan and as the voice of the club came in 2004 at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff.
He's Mendieta. Look at Bolo sending left-hand side. Sending charging in the penalty area. Sending onto his left foot. Job scored! Joseph Job scored for the Boro! What a start! What a start for the Boro! Job goes down. Penalty to the Boro! Joseph Job's got a penalty. We're in dreamland in Cardiff. And it'll be Bolo sending with the responsibility from the spot. If he scores this and makes it 2-0, he'll get the freedom of the Boro and the chance to graze his sheep all he likes in Albert Park.
Don't mention sheep.
It's Bolo Zenden. The ball on the spot.
Back gamesmanship there with Jokiev.
Zenden against Jaskalainen. This for 2-0 at the Bolton end. Zenden takes it. Zenden scores. He went in off the foot of Jaskalainen. It went high into the roof of the net. And Middlesbrough have a 2-goal advantage inside the opening 7 minutes of the Carling Cup final. Referee says that is enough. History's been made at the Millennium Stadium. 128 years in the making. 128 years of hurt, but we never stopped believing that we would win a cup, and we have. Bolton 1, Boro 2. The silverware at last is coming to Teesside. And there'll be many great Middlesbrough captains: George Hardwick, Stuart Baum, Gordon Jones, Tony Mowbray. But none of them have been able to do what Gareth Southgate is going to do now. That's put his hands round a cup and convert after the words Middlesbrough Football Club and add an extra word. And the word is winners! We've done it!
We go for the palm on the wheel. What a night. Come on, Lou. My lady love. Down the old Europa or the Asteria. After a night of passion at the Madison. Lady love. Just keep playing the music and kick off.
On May the 9th, 2011, Ali was given a new job at BBC Tees, and it required an alarm clock.
BBC Tees Breakfast with Ali Brownlee. I'm Ali Brownlee with you on this Monday morning for BBC Tees Breakfast. We're talking about the NHS, taking a look at reforms and getting the views of medical professionals, and continuing the celebrations as Darlington bring home the FA Trophy.
If you're talking about it, we're talking about it.
BBC Tees.
BBC Tees.
Ali was given the job of waking up Teesside, County Durham and North Yorkshire every weekday morning with the same infectious enthusiasm that was the hallmark of his football commentaries.
I'm Kerry Aitken. I'm Ali Brownlee's producer. I remember he started doing the breakfast programme in May. In May, in this spring, summer, it's light at 4 o'clock in the morning, the birds are tweeting, you almost feel like a normal person. And he got out the car park outside BBC Tees, and I said to him, well, Ali, you know, welcome to breakfast. And of course, in his big loud voice, he said, yes, this is great, we're going to do the breakfast programme. And I said, well, this is all very well, it's May, it's a beautiful spring morning, you know, it's nice doing earlies at this time of year, but you will feel differently in January, in the snow, in the cold, in the dark. You will feel differently. And so the year went by, and sure enough, January rolled round, and we both fell out of our cars at 5 o'clock one Monday morning, and he's still the same. Morning, Kerry. And he just didn't let anything get him down. He was the same on a cold, dark January morning at 5 a.m. as he was on a lovely, warm May morning at 5 a.m. And that just continued all the time. I never left his company feeling gloomy or down.
Ali spent over 5 years holding politicians and people in power to account, while at the same time keeping his army of listeners entertained. Not always an easy balance to strike.
You sound like you're a bit resigned to this, that you've accepted it already. I thought there might have been a bit more anger around the place. Am I just wrong in this? I mean, I'm angry for people who are some of the most disadvantaged in the country, some of the worst levels of unemployment, some of the biggest problems with regard to health. I'm angry this morning here, Mick. I expected some people who are the representatives of the people of this town to be yelling from the top of the town hall with sheer anger. I don't hear any of it.
Ian Spittle, I'm the Temporary Chief Constable for Cleveland Police. I first heard Ali's voice when I was preparing to apply for the job up here in Cleveland Police, and his infectious passion for Teesside is one of the things that resonates with me today, and listen to him every morning from those early times when I was thinking of applying for Cleveland Police. And as an ardent hater of football, Ali got me to love football through his passion for the borough. I've never ever played football actively other than trying to get in the school team. I was a rugby boy, but Ali certainly helped me fall in love with the borough, even down to listening to the games from home when he's commentating. Him and Maddo and their passion for the sport, passion for the club, over what I now know is many years, decades in fact, that he was commentating for them, and some very good friends of mine who have been season ticket holders for many years always reflect on how they keep in touch if they're out of the country by listening to Ali's commentary. So he'll be greatly missed, but huge, really positive memories of Ali for me, helping sell Teesside to me and why I came to work here, and helping me fall in love with the mighty borough.
Ali interviewed hundreds of people in his time on BBC Tees Breakfast, from chief constables to politicians, including, of course, the MP for Middlesbrough, Andy MacDonald.
I remember Ali with enormous fondness. He was a massive personality, and what listeners heard on the radio was the genuine Ali. There was no other side to him other than the bubbly, energetic, positive individual that he was. And back in the 90s, when he was my bank manager, he always greeted you as if you were the only person he'd been looking forward to seeing all day. He made everybody feel special. But he was also a disarmingly effective radio journalist. The morning after I was elected, in fact the vote came in the early hours, and because the celebration went on a bit, hardly got any sleep at all. Nevertheless, Ali was straight into cross-examining me on policy issues in my very first broadcast as an MP, and he certainly didn't make any allowances for my euphoria or lack of sleep. But he helped me out by being the master of ceremonies at a charity event I'd organised for cardiac risk in the young. As always, he did it for nothing. He was more focused on what he could put in rather than what he could get out, and I'm going to miss him.
The Teesside actor and Borough fan Mark Benton has fond memories of Ali, but also one regret.
I'm signed on to the Borough Plus thing, so I do get the commentary. I did hear his commentary every week. I would
try and make sure I was in where I could get a signal for the internet, and I would listen to it over the internet. I met him a couple of times, and then I talked to him quite a lot when I was doing Strictly. And one of my biggest regrets is I wish he said come and sit in the box with me. And I never got a chance to go and see, because I would love to have done that, sat with him when he was commentating, but I never got the chance, which is one of my biggest regrets. I mean, I've met enough people sort of in this business and enough people on the radio to realise that what a great bloke he was. And you think of the Borough, you think of his voice, don't you? He was the voice of the Borough for me, and always will be.
Well, Ali, this is because the government is beginning a 3-month consultation on whether to allow gay or lesbian couples to...
In case anyone wonders what happened there, the chair that I'm sitting on in the studio has just collapsed. Are we okay to carry on with this, please? Well, I pick myself up off the floor in a moment.
Well, I can't.
Right, okay. We'll leave that one for the time being. Let's see if we can find one or two other stories in the newspapers this morning.
The headline challenge is many listeners' favourite part of BBC Tea's breakfast, and it was Ali's friendly rivalry with Peter Barron, the editor of the Northern Echo, that made it.
First of all, it was great fun. It was a great way for me to start the day. Jousting with Ali, but he was competitive, I think we're both competitive people, and he was very keen to keep the score during the week, and he loved it when it got to a knife edge, and it was a Friday, and it was 4-4, it was Fish and Chip Friday, and we've got to win, and so yeah, there was definitely a competitive streak with him. I think the one that everybody remembers, and I know it was Ali's favourite, was the story about the billboard in Los Angeles it was a poster of a kettle. They were selling a kettle, and this kettle with the spout up and this little mark on it, it looked like Hitler. And so I went on the radio, talked about the story. Our headline was Mein Brewer, and then BBC T started going through their headlines, and one that came in was Hitler has only got one boil. Well, that was it. Ali was just in fits of giggles. He couldn't talk. He set me off. Sarah Robinson, she was off as well. We were like three children in a playground, just creased up, and the show just ended in complete chaos.
Where are the points going today on breakfast?
The Headline Challenge.
Day 2. And let's hear now from the editor of the Northern Echo, Peter Barron. Hello, Peter.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Brownlee. How are we doing?
I'm doing very well indeed, thank you, Peter. Now, for today's Headline Challenge, this is a story that's gone viral. It's gone worldwide, hasn't it?
Yes, it is. It's a story about a billboard for an advert for a kettle in Los Angeles, and this kettle bears a striking resemblance to Adolf Hitler. The headline is Mein Brewer.
Have we got a better one? Sarah?
Derek says, Jerry put the kettle on. John says, this is a bit like yours, which is Mein Pourer.
Yeah.
Ian says Adolf Whistler.
Oh, I like that.
That's very good.
That's good.
Guy says, Brew, do you think you are kidding Mr. Hitler? Sam says, Reich, old boiler. Matt says, stir Hitler.
Yes.
David says, Hitler has only got one boil.
He's got one what?
Boil.
Hitler's only got one boil?
Yes.
You can't say that on the radio.
I checked, it's okay.
Well, that's it then. We might as well just surrender.
But that's not the one we're going on.
Oh, right.
Oh, not.
It's not much of a kettle, is it, if it's only got one boil?
This is a tweet. This is the one we're going with.
Go on.
Sieg boil.
Sieg boil.
Sieg boil.
A Sieg boil? And you're not going with Hitler has only got one boil?
Well, I didn't dare.
Well,
that's got to be the winner. I just declare that the winner, even though it's on the opposite side.
Which one are we going with, Sarah?
Yes. Which one?
The one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hitler's only got one boil.
Right.
It's got to be. It's genius.
Today.
Absolutely.
Peter, thank you very much indeed.
Genius, well done, whoever came up with that.
I'll always remember that because he was just such a great kind of, he had such a lovely sense of humour, such a warm sense of humour, and I think we shared that, and we just laughed a lot together. It was great fun, and every now and again the Headline Challenge comes along, and you get extra points for a song title, and you sing a song, and we ended up singing together. And I remember him saying to me once, you know what, Peter, we could be the new Milligan and Nesbitt, which was not anything I'd ever had an ambition to be, really, you know, but it was just great fun. I loved it, and I'm going to miss it so much.
I'm Sarah Robinson. I worked with Ali on The Breakfast Show. Funnily enough, although I work on The Breakfast Show and I do get up ridiculously early and my alarm goes off, it's the middle of the night, I'm not a morning person, which seems like I'm completely in the wrong job. So we did all used to sort of kind of pull up at the car park at the same time, and Kerry and I were nodding at each other, and Ali would pull up in his car, and it's just like it was this force of nature. And I can remember, I'd worked around Ali, and you was always aware that he was around, but until we actually worked as closely as we did on The Breakfast Show, I thought, no, that can't be real. I mean, the guy is relentlessly cheery. He's always optimistic, and he's got this kind of joy of life. But he was like that. I never saw him his energy wane, and he cared passionately about the programme, and he cared about us, and he was always, "Are you all right, girls?" And it was a joy to be around, and it was all real. He was real.
The voice of the borough, a tribute to Ali Brownlee.
Back to the football and back to Middlesbrough. And Gary Gill recalls that clocking up the miles on the motorway to and from away matches was never dull.
When I was doing my second stint for BBC Tees, and Mark Drury was doing, who's doing a lot of the commentaries now, when Mark was doing the touchline stuff, we used to have some fantastic car trips, and obviously you need to get on, Paul. When we were doing it, and we did get on, you need to get on, because you can be travelling 8 hours or 9 hours in a day, 4 hours to a match, 2 hours at a game, and then another 4 on the way back and stuff. So we used to cover all kinds of ground, it could be politics, it could be football, it went everywhere, and me and Mark always disagreed about just about everything, and still do, really, in the right way. And Ali was different class, because he'd drop in the occasional comment, and Ali tended to drive more than the rest of us as well, and was almost like a referee at times, and that was good. He kept a lid on things when things were getting a bit carried away and stuff like that. But overall, massively helpful. I know this is a word that everybody uses, and I'd have to say I completely agree with that. He would help everybody and anybody. He was always wanting to put his arms around situations and bring people into him, and people remembered him for that, and when they came to the Riverside, they looked out for Ali, because he knew, or they would know, that he would look out for them.
I used to love the travelling with Ali and Mark. The journeys were brilliant, because they were so different. Mark's different to Ali, and they're all different to me. We used to have some good conversations in the car going down, but we went to Southampton one day, and everything had gone fine first half, and then the second half had started, and about 5 minutes into the second half, I've looked at Ali's notes, and there's blood all over Ali's notes. So then I look at Al, and his nose, he's got the biggest nosebleed you'll ever see in your life. It's dripping all down his face, it's down his shirt, but he's carrying on the commentary nonetheless. It won't stop. Mark's saying, "Do you want me to take out Mark?" No. So he's done it, and he'd done it for 45 minutes, and the nose didn't stop. It just kept bleeding and bleeding. And in the end, we were moving away, shuffling away from him, because the place was full of blood, and he had these paramedics stood round him ready. I'm thinking, what's going on? But he wouldn't stop. He just loved doing what he's doing. That was just a minor thing to him. But it covered his notes. He couldn't see a note, but you wouldn't have known. I used to sit and watch, at him working, and I did, because he could talk about anything for as long as you want. We'd sit there sometimes, and there'd be nothing happening in the game, and I'd be thinking to myself, how do you feel this? But Ali would go, and he'd just talk about the most amazing things, and no one would know. Everyone would be really interested in what he had to say. He was brilliant at what he did. He was just a fantastic man.
Very few commentators clock up as many games as Ali did watching just one team. It's easy to lose count after a while, but on September the 29th, 2012, a special milestone was reached.
Join Ali Brownlee for his 1,500th Borough commentary.
Glorious goal!
The last 1,499 were all just warm-ups for Middlesbrough v Leicester City at the Riverside Stadium. If you can't get to the match, we'll bring the game to you.
Straight into the bottom corner of the net!
All the action, all the reaction, and the Borough Hour. This Saturday from 2 on BBC Tees.
Goodness me. They better not lose after all this.
We've got some congratulations from listeners. Brian says, all the best, Ali. Nick, congrats to you. Well done, Ali, on 1,500 not out. That's from John. And Pauline says, what a star. Congrats and many more. So it's a bit of a numbers game, isn't it? You've been commentating on Boro for 30 years. This weekend...
What do you say? I think you signed a bit over there.
30 years, yeah, we'll just repeat it. 30 years.
Occasionally out of the mouths of youngsters comes the truth, isn't it, really? And just in the street yesterday, there was the kids kicking around the football, and one of the neighbours said, Ali's doing his 1,500th game at the weekend. The lad looked at me and went, boy, you were old.
The ultimate highlight from 30 years, 1,500 matches. What's been the best one?
That's tough because there was, I mean, you and I were there, weren't we, for the Stoy Bucharest game when Massimo Macaroni scored with a diving header.
Yeah.
And then I think it's got to be the Millennium Stadium, Cardiff, 29th of February 2004, because at that moment when the referee blew the full-time whistle, there was about 30 seconds of sheer silence when Boro supporters couldn't believe that we'd actually won something, because being so close on so many occasions.
Ali went on to commentate on over 1,600 Middlesbrough games as he provided the soundtrack to many memorable moments, but also times of struggle, whilst at the same time waking up Teesside, County Durham and North Yorkshire every weekday morning in his own unique style. Perhaps the most fitting tribute came on a flag draped on the Ayresome Park gates outside the Riverside Stadium after they became a shrine in the days following his death. R.I.P. Alistair Brownlee, the friend I never met.
He made people feel good about themselves. He made people feel special. He found time for people. And I think there's a real lesson in the way that he conducted himself for all of us, just to think about the way we treat other people. And he was just very, very special.
I said always that I've met him just the last 2 years, but it's not the last 2 years. The first minute that I met him, it was amazing, and I could feel how much he loved Middlesbrough Football Club. So for that reason I was always joking, and he was the only one, but the few of people who was always supportive, who was always positive, and who was always trying to do his best.
My abiding memory of Alistair Brownlee will be his happiness, his joyfulness, his glass half full attitude, and his love of the borough and love of everybody. I've never met and will never meet a more genuine man in my life. I will miss him greatly. He was a beacon, and Teesside has lost a bit of its sparkle.
He holds a special place in my heart. I'll always remember him for his relentless energy and his positivity and the love he had for this area and his family and Benjamin, the wonder dog.
I'd always hear him, Mr. Woodgate, how are you? Just the way he was very amicable. He was such a nice man. He was fantastic at his job, and he gives so much coverage for Middlesbrough over a long period of time. I mean, he's an iconic name in Middlesbrough.
Absolutely proud and passionate for where he lived and worked, Teesside, and beyond my doubt, the most passionate supporter of the borough who I've ever met. And his memories and his smiles and his cheering and his almost voiceless excitement at times when goals were scored will certainly live with me, and I know many people across Teesside.
I knew I was in the presence of a good man. He cared, and actually I will remember the laughs, because there were a lot of laughs.
I'll remember Alistair for just being full of enthusiasm, full of passion about Middlesbrough, being really helpful to the people that he worked with, and just a generally really good guy to get along with.
Co-commentator, co-Boro fan. Larger than life, hugely larger than life. Very warm, very helpful, a great man, and I called him that.
Biased, rose-tinted spectacles, he always wore them. Say no wrong about anybody or anything. Knowledgeable, passionate, and a Boro fanatic. He was an absolute Boro nut. And I always remember his smile, and he was loud. That was another thing. He was loud. You know, you heard him before you seen him. Yeah, great memories, Ali.
I spent a bit of time with him when I did some work at BBC Tees, part of my degree, and for me, he's my hero in broadcasting because he's just such a talented man. He lit up everyone's face, and whether you're at the match or not, he's just a brilliant guy, and I'm just so pleased to have known him and to be part of this football club with him because he is Middlesbrough Football Club, and he's just a great guy. I'm really, really going to miss him.
I was born and raised on Steel River. I see it all like it was yesterday. The ships and bridges, they were all delivered from Sydney Harbour to the Cisco Bay.
I started following the Boro in 1967 when the likes of John Higton and John O'Rourke inspired the team to promotion.
Now I met my love down on Steel River. We served our dreams and spent our childhood days. In rainy streets we kissed away the shivers and hide from fear inside the latest craze. Dancing to Motown, making love with a Carole King record playing. And oh, how I loved you. Say goodbye.
One of the greatest players I've commentated on has to be Juninho.
And would you believe it? The script has been written, and Middlesbrough have an equaliser, and you know who's put it in the top of the net. Juno's back.
10,000 bombers hit the Steel River, and many died to keep her running free. And she survived, but now she's gone forever. Her burning heart is just a memory. Now run away from life on Steel River. Look on out, I gladly took the break. The odds were low, the chances nearly zero, but chance it was I had to take.
Drops the team,
Gordon hits it back of the net. It's Flash Gordon. It's 2-0 to the Boro. And Dean Gordon takes Schmeichel by surprise. And it's Manchester United 0. It's Middlesbrough 2. And Bernie's bum could be out.
They say that salmon swim in Steel River. They say it's good to see them back again. I know it hurts to see what really happened. I know one salmon ain't no good to them. They were born and raised to serve their steel mother. It was all they taught and all they ever knew. And they believed that she would keep their children, even though not a single word was true. Say goodbye, Steel River.
Shot, get in, you beauty! We've got a penalty! George Friend cartwheeled into the air, and it's going to be a penalty kick to the Boro. Frank Ledbetter from the spot, he advances. Get in! Downing, free kick. Oh, pick it out! Stewie Downing! It's that age-old chant from the Hallgate. Come on, Boro. Rand Ledbetter. Strike it in! The top of the net. Wayne Rooney. Manchester United from the spot advances. Strikes it! Yes! Get in! Oh, Thomas Mahias, you beauty! Rooney strikes it. Mahias saves it. And Boro have advantage at Old Trafford. Downing against Sergio Romero. Come on, Stewie. Downhill to the ball. Downing scores.
Beautiful.
Stewie Downing scores. Clenched fist to the Boro fans. Carrick on the spot.
He's
over
missed
the
it.
bar.
He's missed it.
Hey. Flying over the bar. Michael Carrick, thank you and a very good night. Ben Gibson. Ben Gibson from the spot. Stay calm, Ben. Here he goes.
Yeah! Pick it out, man.
Back of the net.
Come on.
Boro lead 3-1. Manchester United staring down the barrel.
You know what? I've just watched him on the screen there. I mean,
if they miss this, we're through.
You know what? He's just blasted it, and he's got tears in his eyes, man. He said, I'm not going to repeat what he said, but I tell you what, it was a come on, you beauty.
Ashley Young.
Miss it.
If he misses, we're through.
Come on, miss it.
Ashley Young.
Yeah!